Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald at the Illinois State Fairgrounds. During this program, we're going to take a visit to the Illinois State Fair Museum. But I wanted to start here because in many ways, the Illinois State Fair started here at the Expo Building in 1894. Now, nobody knows more about this than the founder of the foundation of the Illinois State Museum, Pam Gray, who joins us. And Pam, I wanted to start here because I think, did I get the year right, 1894?
Yes.
Okay, the year after the Chicago World's Fair.
Yes.
They wanted to build a building that was just ranked up there with what everybody had just seen.
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with. In the Expo Building at the time, there wasn't a state fair in the country that had even an inkling that you could produce a building like this at a state fair.
That's right, yes. The Illinois State Fair actually had its first state fair in 1853.
Wow.
And it was held here in Springfield in 1853.
Well, you know, Abraham Lincoln could have attended that.
Yeah, he attended the one in 1854. And I have some texts that I found through research of how he rode up on horseback and he had his top hat on and he wooed the crowds that were here at the Illinois State Fair in 1854.
Yeah.
Oh, he could. He was large structure man, and he rode up on that horse, and the stories go, the written text at the time in the newspaper articles, that men were climbing up in trees just so that they could see him, and over the tops of some of the carriages and other horses in the area. And when he started speaking, it almost caused a riot, and people that were close to Abraham, in an effort to protect him, whisked him off. They said, "This is not safe. We are," and he left within a half hour or so. But he was here at the Illinois State Fair in 1854.
When we get to your museum,
yes,
we're going to get a chance to see what the drawings looked like before this building was built.
Yes.
And as you said, the fair was held in other cities between 1853 and 1894, right? Okay. So it moved all over the place.
Moved all over. It was mobile. And then they started an effort. The founders realized that they can have it in one place and people can travel to the Illinois State Fair via train, carriages, horse buggy. So they put out an effort to who has the best place, what city can we hold, and it was almost like a competition.
Sure.
So competing was Peoria, Alton, Chicago certainly, and Springfield. And the fair wanted certain things. They wanted so much acreage, no less than 100 acres. They wanted to have water. They wanted to have transportation availability. So the cities competed, and Springfield won out the other cities. So it was a great thing. And in 1893, there was not an Illinois State Fair because of the Chicago World's Fair. So it gave Springfield some time to get ready for the grand opening in 1894 of the permanent home where we have it today, even today, in 2010. So this building was the first building built. And we have some transcripts of the costs of this building. It literally was the granddaddy of buildings in the United States. It was constantly touted as the grandest of all buildings. The woodwork inside the building, the top of it where that reaches up high, that's 3 stories.
Wow.
You can go up in that building, in that portion of the building. At one point, this where we have that rickrack railing, that was open and people could go up there. So can you imagine
catch a breeze?
Catch
you could get a breeze up there.
Yes.
There's an interesting story to the dome too. That is not the original dome.
Right.
Interestingly, and we'll see pictures of this at your museum, they brought a dome down from the World's Fair and they planted that on top of this building, and it stayed there for a long time till it burned.
Right, yeah. The Illinois State Fair purchased that dome from the Chicago World's Fair for $67,000. It was dismantled in Chicago and brought to Springfield and then put together. And unfortunately, it burned down about 2 weeks before the Illinois State Fair in 1917. It was just tragic that we don't still have that. We have photographs, luckily, and hand drawings, and many postcards were sent out from here with that dome as the background.
We'll see those when we get to the museum. Now, there's another interesting story I want to touch on while we're here. In 1994, 100 years after this building was built,
right,
they opened a time capsule that was was the cornerstone of this building.
Yes.
And I would like you to take us over there and take a look at that, and we'll just chat about what was in there, okay?
Yes,
Okay,
sure.
let's go over there.
Okay.
Well, Pam, this is the northeast corner of the expo building.
Right.
And as you can see on here, July 4th, 1894, and they gave directions that 100 years from now, way into the future,
Right.
someone would open this time capsule
Right.
and they would find gifts from our descendants from 100 years ago. So what did
Right.
they find in 1994 when
In
they opened this?
1994, when they opened it, there were 3 small American flags, local newspapers from 1894, 2 pence, 4 pence. The 2 pence was actually dated from 1836.
Wow, that was old then.
That was old then. When they put it in, they wanted some old items. Then it was kind of really neat, the 3 small American flags. It was really a political event when they put this in. Obviously, they did it on July 4th. The bishop that gave the speech afterwards, he had, it was quite a political speech that he gave. He talked about July 4th when the country was started, and it was quite a long speech, but the items that they found were just phenomenal. And if you can imagine, if we put a cornerstone in now and we go out 100 years, what we might put in there.
Right.
And the fascination with, what's going to happen in 1994 on July 4th when they open this, what we put in there.
Yeah. We have to track down those items. We have to find those items that were dug out of here, because that would work in your museum.
Yes,
you should have
absolutely.
those.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
We need to get them.
Yeah.
I would love to have them.
Okay, let's go to the museum and take a look at that, all right?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
Well, Pam, we're in the museum now, and it's in the grandstand building on the north end, just actually below the grandstand, because there's, as you know, the steps that go down like this, and then under that is this area down here where you can have a display area. That's what you've done here. You're looking for a permanent home, but this will do for now.
Right, yeah.
Okay, now this, we mentioned that the State Fair was a traveling fair for more than 40 years.
Yes.
And this is what the fairgrounds in Peoria looked like.
Right.
Isn't that something? Now, no permanent buildings of any kind.
Right, yeah, it was reconstructed. In Peoria, the fair was held 10 times. And that's why there was a real competition. Peoria tried real hard to get that permanent place of the Illinois State Fair, and Springfield ultimately won out. But yeah, that's what they would do when they would go to Alton or they would go to Chicago. They've been to Quincy, they went to Jacksonville, they went to Centralia. They just traveled around the state, and at each city they would reconstruct, and the locals would build the buildings and get the transportation in there and put the word out, and they would advertise in local newspapers and just try to get as many people there as they can, local farmers to enter, their tomatoes, and bring in their cows and their horses to join the competition.
Yeah. Let's move down now. We mentioned that Springfield became the permanent host, and here you can see the building, the building with the dome is the expo building that we just visited. That was the first building built.
Right.
And here, even by 1896, you've got a number of permanent buildings already finished.
Right, yeah, there was a lot of building going on in the early years, and this particular photograph drawing of 1896 shows that dome building. It also shows the track in the background.
Yeah.
And just the way that the grounds look. There was, at the entry of each gate, there were just kind of arches that were not very permanent.
I'm looking to the left. Up to the left here, there's a photograph, and it's a castle-like looking brick building, and that was one of the early buildings that was finished, because we saw it in the drawing.
Right.
Now that's no longer here.
Right. That is called the Women's Building. It burned down.
Oh.
And in the early years, the Dome building burned down in 1917. The Women's Building burned down. So,
but they were able to save
tragedy.
most of the expo building. The dome burned because it was a wooden dome.
Yes.
But they saved the rest of it, and they built the dome that we see now.
That's correct. Yeah.
In 1900, here's a nice progression here. You can see what's going on. Now it looks like the Women's Building is already gone by this time.
Yes.
It burned down in between 1897 and 1900.
Right.
And this is really taking shape.
Yeah, it is. Thanks to the legislature, the current governors at the time, and the fair directors and the Department of Agriculture, working together after 1894, they knew this is going to stay here at the Illinois State Fair in Springfield. So this photograph depicts 1900. The main gate was built in 1910. So this is 1910. This is the 100th anniversary of it here in 2010, and we're celebrating that. But you can see in this photograph again the lackadaisical entrances. Where people would enter through with horse and buggy.
And right above, really a good photograph of the expo building when the wooden dome was on there.
When that dome was,
and you can see all the activity that was going on around it. Lots of tents, as you see now, you know, that go up, spring up for State Fair. But really good photograph.
Yeah.
Now here's an interesting one down here, Pam.
Yes.
This group of men and young men is a conglomeration of boys, I assume, from all over the state.
Yes.
But they used to come to the State Fair. They called it State Fair School. What was that all about?
Well, in the early 1920s, 30s, and 40s, they developed a program where each county would be allotted 2 individuals, 2 boys or 2 girls, and they would have a boys' school, and then they would have a girls' school. For the girls' school, they would teach them how to cook, how to clean, what their role is of cooking and cleaning, and then they would graduate. And I have documents from those, you know, of the list of each name from those counties, who that individual was, that was selected by usually their legislators or county officials, and was selected to come down here. And then the boys' school, they would teach them how to ride how to ride horses, how to raise cattle, how to raise corn, the best way to plant corn, how to harvest corn, anything agriculturally related. They just taught them how to, work on the farm and be productive.
Yeah, for the boys from Cook County, that was probably a real eye-opener.
I'm sure it was, yes, and they did. Sometimes Cook County would have 4 or 6 boys come because the county was so large.
They were just a little behind in the class.
Yeah, it was fun.
Now, Pam, there is a proud boy and his mama wearing the beanies that won him the blue ribbon at the State Fair.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's interesting. The competition at the fair has always been a big thing to people, and it's very proud when they win a blue ribbon or a white or a red ribbon. But it also talks about the 1940s. It talks about what boys and families were doing during the summer of those years, doesn't it?
Right, sure. In 1940s, 1950s, we didn't have video games. Some of the kids weren't sitting around watching TV most of the summer.
Very few.
Yeah. And so this is a story, and I like our artifacts that have the people behind the story. And this is a story of a local Springfield family, North Ender family, large family. Dad went to work, Mom stayed home with the 7 kids. And a couple years ago, a family approached me and said, "We have these beanies. Our brother just recently passed away of cancer, and we didn't want them to end up in a dumpster somewhere. Would you like them?" And I just, oh yes, we would love to have these beanies.
Wow.
And the story behind it is that the mom would spend her summers with her kids, and each kid had kind of a different focus that summer. This young boy had his focus. She would help him make the beanies. They would collect trinkets. She would sew the trinkets on the beanies and enter them into a trinket collection contest. And he won first place in 1950, and very proud. And the mom, I love the mom. She's in her dress, kneeled down next to her son. She's as proud as he is. And she would focus each kid on a different item. Like one of the boys would raise corn in the backyard garden. He would water the garden and make sure the weeds were out of it, and then he would enter that corn at the contest at the Illinois State Fair. One of the sisters would grow tomatoes. Another sister would make a dress with the sewing machine, and Mom would help oversee that. And so each child had a focus that summer. And a purpose.
Right, and the focus would all culminate at the State Fair.
At the State Fair, right.
Now this is now more like the 50s. But again, you get a real indication. These photographs, some of them are just priceless. There's a lady in the middle here from Franklin, Illinois.
Right.
And she looks like she's so proud of her cakes and bread that she's just about ready to cry, doesn't she?
Right, she's holding up her ribbon, and her baked goods are on the table, and she's just so proud. And from Franklin, Illinois, and I'm sure that her family, can come here to the museum and see that photograph of her and how proud she was of that day.
And you know what? If they don't recognize anybody in here, they recognize things that happened to their family and when they were growing up. I mean, this is what summer was all about.
Exactly. Yep, that's right. And then, like you said, right before school starts, they come to Illinois State Fair and have the celebration and enjoy the competition with all their items, and hopefully go home with a red, white, or blue ribbon.
Suzanne Moss, for thousands and thousands of people over the last 50 years, going to the fair meant going to the grandstand acts.
Sure.
That's why they came.
Right.
And this is new. You all have just put this together, and this traces all the acts from 1970 clear through to this year.
Right,
That
clear
is
to
really
current.
neat.
We're really excited about this. We've had some interns that have helped us out tremendously this summer, and we wouldn't have been able to put all this together without their help. So you can see that this is a board that details out every year from 1970 all the way to the current year, and it lists all of the musical acts that have been in this wonderful grandstand that we have in our
bring
grounds.
up a lot of memories to people,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
because they might forget, well, you know, was that 1970 we were there, 1980
Oh, I
we were
know,
there?
yeah.
Just for instance, let's talk about big acts. Let's
Sure.
look at the first year that you have, your 1970 grandstand lineup. Judy Ford and Skitch Henderson, Cowsills, Charlie Pride, Engelbert Humperdinck,
Right.
Johnny Cash, and Carter Family. Of course, that wasn't enough. They had the Statler brothers,
Oh, Statler
too.
Brothers too. I know.
Those are
Hee-Haw,
huge.
the Hee-Haw TV
Yeah.
stars. Can you imagine? Some of those people now are so famous that, you know, that actually started off in that TV series.
Yep.
And oh yeah, wonderful reminiscing that can go
Wow.
on. So we're hoping that people come out, take a look at this board. You know, if they're trying to remember when they saw Barbara Mandrell or when they saw Barry Manilow or something. I remember attending some of those concerts myself, and we've had so many people that will come in the museum and say, "Oh, I remember seeing such and such. What year was that?
What year was that?
that?"
Right, right.
They can walk over this board and take a look, and then, like you said, see all the other wonderful
Yep.
big names, because they've really done great
Let's
in bringing
work
up.
our way down just a little
Sure,
bit here.
sure.
Let's pick 1989.
Okay.
Here, for instance, Alabama, the Judds, Randy Owen, Jeff Cook, Ted Gentry, Mark Hendon. Now, that's one of the years Willie wasn't here. Willie,
Right. Oh, Willie Nelson
Willie
has
was
got
here.
the record, I think.
Yeah, I think he was
oh,
here
yeah.
10 or
Willie
11
Nelson
years.
and family. You know, we've got Willie Nelson here. We've got Willie Nelson down here. We've got. He was in the
Willie
80s.
was an
he was
annual
here.
event.
Right.
He was an annual
Right.
event.
And a lot of people saw him year after
Yeah.
year after year. So yeah, there were just some great entertainers that have come through. Shared, you know, a variety of music, you know, everything from country to hard rock and roll to, you know, blues. I mean, you know, ZZ Top. I mean, some of the big concerts that really broke some grandstand records.
This will
People
bring
will
back a
remember, you know,
lot of
yeah,
memories.
yeah. So I think we've been very well represented in a great repertoire of music that's been provided. And you know, the grandstand has been wonderful. It was built in 1927, I believe. It started in 1927. They finished it in 1928. It's been refurbished a little bit, but you think of all the grandstand musical acts that have come through, as well as all the car races, as well as the motorcycle races, and you know, and on. The harness racing.
Harness racing,
It is kind of the epicenter of so many activities that thousands of people can come view, you know, together at one time. And I believe the seating is over 8,000 some seats in the grandstand. So you can pack a lot of people in, and it really has been a great, you know, thing to debut for the museum this year. So, yeah, this is it. This is our feature board of the Grandstand Entertainers. We're really excited to share it this year, and we hope people come out and see and take a look and reminisce and get a chance to, you know, remember the times they were out here grooving and shaking and singing and, you know, enjoying the music that they heard here at the grandstand.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for coming out.
Pam, something new this year. You know, we were talking about the competitive nature of people at the State Fair, and there's competitions all day long. These poster displays that you have are new, and it's really cool because you've started to fill them up with memorabilia now from State Fairs past. People are going to love to stand here and just page through this stuff, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. We bought 4 of these displays through the foundation, and we started this particular display called competitions. We will end up with cheerleading competitions. But you can see this lady here, she made that coat, and she won the kettle for that, and then the competition with the bugle corps.
This must be the cutest baby contest here, or something like that.
Might be
What
the
is that
diaper
called?
derby.
Diaper derby, okay.
Yeah,
I think there's
diaper
another one
derby.
here. Look at this here, the mud volleyball competition.
Right.
It's a mixed blessing to play in that one, I'll tell
And
you.
here's a little guy trying as hard as he can with Dad coaching him on to do the tractor pull. And the fiddle contest.
Oh man, these
Fiddle
are
contest.
priceless. These are priceless. Let's fish through here and see what else we Let's see. Oh, is this the diaper derby again here?
Yep, that's the diaper derby again.
Look at the parents are funnier than the babies.
Oh,
Actually.
they are, yeah. And here's the ponytail contest.
Oh yeah, she looks like a winner to me.
Yeah.
And look at this. Look at this one. This is the pigtail contest, I guess. Look
Yep.
how long those are.
Yes. Actually, that lady donated her trophy to us here at the museum,
Well,
so we
that's
also
neat.
have that. Yeah.
That's neat. And these two guys here, boy, they're facing off. Look at these two dogs
Right.
down here. This is serious business here.
Yep, that's right. And we have
That
tom
is
twirling.
Neat. Let's take another.
Of course, motorcycle races here at the Illinois State Fairgrounds
Yeah.
are very popular.
Wow.
Here's a grade school orchestra contest.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of people just standing here all day long just going
Right.
through these. This
Yeah.
is neat.
Yeah.
This is a good idea. Well, Pam, talk about a big operation. The State Fair had its own switchboard.
Right. Yeah.
Three stations.
3 stations. 3 people worked it.
3 people would work this round the clock. So 8 hours on, then they'd be replaced by somebody else. So you actually had, let's see, 3 times 9 people working at this
Yeah.
all day long. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
And what the heck were they doing?
Well, somebody up at the north end of the grandstand, of course, we have 366 acres here on the fairgrounds, so a lot of territory to cover. And the operators would use a 3-digit telephone number to transfer a telephone call that came in at one end of the fairgrounds to over at the racetrack or in another area. And the operators would get the incoming call, and then they would pull one of these cords and use the 3-digit number, push this button, and then
Okay.
insert it in and
it
connect
goes.
the
Okay.
actual phone call.
And this one's a little later because it's got touch
Right.
dialing, but the
Yeah.
other two, they're rotary. You can see that those were quite old.
Right,
Yeah.
yep, had the dial on them.
I'll be darned. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
And enough people, if you look at the directory here, there really were enough people and locations that I guess you needed a switchboard because look at all the places where they could pick up the phone.
right. Yeah, you had people over at horse racing. You had people over at Farm Expo, Ethnic Village, the paint shop where the carpenters
Sure.
and some of the employees were working. The fair manager, of course, is on here.
Right.
Entry department, you had the area for parking. So whoever they needed to talk to,
Yeah.
of course now they all have, everybody has
Oh, everybody's got a
one
cell phone now,
sometimes
yeah.
2 cell phones.
And it's a direct dial thing. It's a,
Right.
Now this is neat too because you've kept the phone books, and each year, of course, I guess the directory changed, and so each year you publish a phone
Right.
book, and there they are. Isn't that something?
Yep, every year the fair manager and the Department of Agriculture would put out the phone book for the state fair, and everybody would get a copy of it. So if you had any issues, you knew who to contact and how to get a hold of them.
Well, Pam, a lot of these items, as we've mentioned, have been donated from families who have chests and they find these things, and that's true of these ribbons too, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, we are very thankful and appreciative of any ribbons that get donated. For example, these 3 white ribbons here were donated by a family where they had 2 elderly aunts in the family. The sisters were never married. They lived on the farm, and they showed at the Illinois State Fair basically all of their lives up into their 80s. And when they passed, the family went in, and in the lofts of the barn found a wooden chest, and it had all these ribbons in it that the sisters had won, and the sisters were very proud of the ribbons.
Yeah.
And they donated them luckily to the museum.
1939, 40, and 41, and those were farm floral
Right,
exhibits.
farm
Governor
floral.
Horner's name is on the ribbon.
Yes, isn't that neat? And then, you know, we have these ribbons. This one's from 2001. It's bright yellow and white plaid with a large flowerette on it. This one was from the parade. This one's a pink floret. It's 4th premium.
It's so ornate.
Very ornate.
And
Some of them are.
And the seal of Illinois in gold on it.
In gold
Yeah, it's
in the
pretty-
center of
pretty
them.
neat.
Yeah. This one's from 1965. It's a 2nd place ribbon.
This red one here?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place
Down here in the
ribbons for
corner,
different
first,
things.
2nd, and 3rd. I was surprised at how many others beyond 1st, 2nd, and 3rd there are. If we
Right.
come over here, you can see here's a 6th, 7th, 8th, premiums, and these were in beef cattle class.
Right. These as well were donated. These were donated a couple of years ago. An elderly gentleman called and said, "I've got this box of ribbons. Do you want them?" And I said, "Of course, yes." And he brought them, and I opened up the box, and it just about took my breath away.
Yeah.
Literally 50 years worth of ribbons from this gentleman's family. And he was very proud, and he told me that this was an elderly man, and his father had shown at the Illinois State Fair, and his grandfather had shown at the Illinois State Fair. So there was 3 generations. His children were also showing at the Illinois State Fair, and his grandchildren were also showing. So, it was literally 5-6 generations, and he didn't want these ribbons to end up, just continually to sit in a box somewhere.
Right.
Sometimes the families get so many ribbons they don't have enough places to show them. So they brought them to us, and we're very proud to show these ribbons. And like you said,
it's great to put them side by side and see how they've changed over the years.
Yes, they have changed.
And see that there are probably classes and competitions that may not even exist anymore.
That's true. Yeah, sure. And this one is a ribbon that was given to veterans.
Oh, yeah.
In 1940, every veteran that came through the gates had one of these ribbons given to them.
Nice. Of all the sights and sounds of the Illinois State Fair that people may remember the most is the main gate. They're celebrating its 100th birthday this year. With another Illinois story at the Illinois State Fairgrounds and the Illinois State Fair Museum, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
For a DVD copy of this episode of Illinois Stories, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, broadcast date, and topic. You may also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605 or by using our secure server by going online to networkknowledge.tv.